McLendon-Chisholm voters who like big government and higher taxes are going to love the ballot initiative going on right now that expands the size of government and contracts individual liberty. But that's just my opinion, since the vice chair of the city's charter commission is here to change my mind, because it's that time again. Time for some straight talk. I'm Bunker Bob Steinhagen, and this is the Bunker Bob Show. Greetings, thrill seekers, music lovers, conversationalists from across the fruited plains of the great state of Texas. I am your host, Bunker Bob Steinhagen, bringing you an hour of uncensored, unadulterated, and unapologetic conservatism. And I'm grateful to have you watching today on the Bunker Cam via Rumble, YouTube, or Facebook. And welcome my podcast listeners who are out walking, driving in their cars, or wherever they're listening via Spreaker, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Deezer, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, or Podcast Addict, just to name a few, of course. Well, it is that time that this is something that I had wanted to do about a week ago, before the I guess the election started, and yet I was not able to, because I was editing the candidate forums, and so this is something I've been wanting to do. I asked the chairman of the committee, Mark Russo, to join. He's a justice of the peace. Now, even though apparently he can be chairman of the committee, he can sign a document that says he agrees with this. He can hold 5 town hall meetings and do that, but he can't come on this show because somehow it's different. I don't buy it, but that's Mark for you. But what I have is, and it's not the second best. I don't consider you the backup. I consider you just as good. So I do have Dennis London here, and Dennis, my friend, and we have had many great conversations. Yes, sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. This is an area we don't agree, but that's the thing about conservatism, and that's the thing that I love about being a conservative, is that you don't have to agree on things, and more importantly, you hear both sides. Absolutely. And that's what I think is important. And this has been my rub from the very beginning of this, it is that there's only been one side that people have heard from, and I will tell you this: I am the only voice of dissent on this home rule charter that you're going to hear, and that is, I believe, by design. And the reason I say that is because, as Dennis well knows, a member of City Council asked me to be on the commission to sign up, and so I did, and I was summarily rejected, because my application said that I don't agree with expanding the role of government. I don't believe in home rule, but I am willing to work with the commission to keep it to make it a charter that limits the role of government. And it is my understanding that Mr. Brewer on the City Council refused to allow me to be on the commission, which is fine. He has that right, but I was denied that. We had Dennis London on the commission. There were several people on the commission. Melody Osorio, who I love, was on the commission. I also fell in love with another lady, who and her name escapes me, but I watched what the commission did. But I think the problem the reason why this is, in my opinion, the wrong thing, is because I don't believe that the commission was established to allow voices of dissent. And when you fall into that trap, that's a trap in my opinion. When you fall into that trap, I think that's dangerous, because you're really not, in my opinion, looking out for the greater good of everyone. But with that being said, I don't take issue with the commission. Okay, so let's start there, because I think that people are going to be offended that I oppose what's happening. And I think that the reason they're offended is because they don't understand my objections, and that's the real shame. And here I just want to point out a couple of people who are a lot smarter than me, and one is Ronald Reagan, who says as government expands, liberty contracts, which is exactly, in my opinion, what is happening here. But here is, to me, this is the issue. And Edmund Burke says it best, that the people never give up their liberties, but under some delusion. And a delusion is a false belief or opinion. I believe that the commission, or excuse me, I believe that the people who are supporting this are under the delusion that this is going to bring limited government, that this is better for the voice of the people. So to be on the commission, you had to be in full-throat agreement with the fact that home rule should move forward, which I don't agree with. So obviously that's why I wasn't on it. But and when I say full throat, I don't mean that you agree with everything that you guys are going to do.
Right.
All right. So that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you had to believe that this is the right thing. That's the wrong problem. They had almost no debate, no discussion about home rule on the city council, about why this is the right time. I've got that question. Why now? Is there other alternatives? But I want to also, but before we keep going, I just want to also highlight something that Thomas Sowell said, that emotions never prove or disprove facts. There was a time when any rational adult understood this, but years of dumbed down education and emphasis on how people feel have left too many people unable to see through this media gimmick. The reason so many people misunderstand so many issues is not that these issues are so complex, but that people do not want a factual or analytical explanation that leaves them emotionally unsatisfied. And I agree with that. And I think that's going to be the problem here when people hear my dissent, is they think that I'm attacking people or I'm attacking the commission. I think people are going to take offense because they think I'm taking issue with the people. And I got to tell you, it does bother me when I watch, the meeting between the city council and the commissioners, and the people just gushed over the committee and what great work you are doing and things like that. And it really, there was no room to criticize the whole premise of the charter. And that's what I take issue with. I am going to identify some areas of the charter that I think make it clear that this is big government, that it is not limiting government, that it is going to be one of the most monumentally bad decisions that our city citizens could make if they vote to approve it. And I suspect it's going to pass because, frankly, very little information came out about this, and I mean, and let me highlight one of the things that I mean by that. And this is what I received. We all received this in the mail. This is the packet. Mine's unsealed. I've got my wife's that I'm using, but this is unsealed. I kept it this way for a reason, because I wanted to make a point. There's no indication as to what this is when you receive it, and I almost threw it away. I hate junk mail, and so I think there's a lot of people who threw it away. I think there's a lot of people who had no idea that there were town hall meetings on this. They just because the city is assuming that everybody is attached to social media. I'm not a social media person, even though I'm on. I mean, that's
a lot of channels.
Yeah, and we've joked about how ironic that is. But let me just say that. So that said, I think that the city, if they really wanted citizens to understand and be a part of this, they would have sent out a postcard saying, "Here's 5 town hall meetings," or "Here's here's the dates that you can get information on it," before we established a charter commission. the question of whether or not we should do a charter was never asked. It is the assumptive clause, and that is the Achilles heel of this issue. Now, so in fairness, I am going to present some of the things that this home rule is supposed to do. This is on the city website, so I'm not making any of this up. But here's what it says: local control. Home rule cities have great autonomy to govern themselves. They can enact ordinances, regulate land use, and address local issues without needing state approval, as long as they don't conflict with state or federal laws. Flexibility. These cities can adopt their own charters and organizational structures tailored to their specific needs and priorities. This allows for more efficient and effective governance. Broader legal authority. Home rule cities have the power to address a wider range of issues and implement comprehensive policies. This includes regulating local businesses, addressing environmental concerns, and implementing public safety measures. It enhances public engagement. The structure of home rule cities often promotes greater transparency, accountability, and accessibility, encouraging more resident participation in local governance and adaptability. Home rule cities can more easily adapt to changing circumstances and proactively address local challenges, thank you, making them more responsive to the needs of their communities. And to all of that, I say that is just not true. But I continue to give people their due. So this is Mr. Brewer, who is speaking at a meeting. This is before the commission was established. Mm-hmm. Dennis London and his wife were sitting in the front row. You'll see. So and do you remember this? This was when you had hair. No, I'm just kidding.
That was a long time.
It wasn't that long ago.
Me having hair was.
Well, this meeting wasn't.
Okay,
That's my point.
Right.
So anyway, this is some of the things, and I'm going to highlight a couple of things that Mr. Brewer says, so that to kind of give him his due. So this is, let me make sure I have the right channel for this. All right.
So what are some of the advantages? Well, one, citizens can determine the governance that they want from their city, from the structure of the city government, establish control over city finances, and limitations on the power of government. For instance,
okay, so I take issue with that, but I want to highlight again another point that Mr. Brewer makes a little bit later in this, and it is at 19. So 19 minutes. And by the way, this is from the July 15, 2024 meeting. It's a special meeting where citizens can come. So it's still on the city website. All these are on the city website, by the way. So you can go and look at the entire thing in context for yourself, so that you know that I'm not trying to pull anything over on you, because I'm not. But here is so this is an example that Mr. Brewer gives for home rule. And
other advantages: the home rule cities have flexibility to deal with complex issues that develop in a growing community, rather than have to wait on the state legislature to act. When I was campaigning, I talked about an example I did. I worked for the police department, okay? But I'm not going to give that one. I'll give another one that's a little bit more broad, because I had somebody, it was dealing with game rooms, and somebody said, we don't have those here. So I'll give another example. Back in before 2017, Uber and Lyft came to a lot of cities. And the problem was, they said, we are not a taxi service, so we don't follow under your permits there. And you can't require us to do a background check on our drivers. Or the background check that we want to do is different from yours, but you're just going to have to live with ours. And so there was nothing in the state legislature to guide that, okay? And so general law cities, if Uber and Lyft came in there, had their hands tied. Home rule cities, on the other hand, said no. If the power is not exclusive, preempted by the legislature, by that I mean they said all cities have to do it this way. We can step in and do it our way, and that's what a lot of cities did. In the city of Austin, for 2 months, Uber and Lyft pulled out because they wanted. City of Austin wanted those background checks, wanted the drivers fingerprinted. Uber, Lyft said no. And then they were able to bring a referendum vote on it, using the process of referendum because Austin's a home rule city. It still got voted that they had to do background checks. So what did they do? They pulled out for 2 months. And then the legislature came in session. They lobbied the legislature. And now there's some rules regarding that even home rule cities can't do.
Yeah, so this is why I was frustrated with this whole presentation that he gave, because he did not give one instance as to why we need home rule, why the city of McLendon-Chisholm needs home rule. But hey, we got Mark Kippett, one of my favorites, right? Mark Kippett is at this meeting, and he has some words of wisdom. Now, what I want you to hear is how specific is he in addressing this issue? And so here it is.
Developing a strategic plan, right? So been heavily involved in that. And here's an observation I have to address your point. I'm going to say, we don't want Washington telling us what to do in Texas. There is a move in Austin to tell cities what to do from Austin. And general law cities are tied to state statute, period. And we lose all our local leverage. So I'm a strong proponent for home rule and for local control for those reasons. And it's a trend line that I see. And so if you want to have more MUDs, if you want to have greater density, if you want to have, those kinds of trend lines, you want to be more like Collin County, then, that's how Austin wants us to go.
Yeah, so what's interesting about that is home rule solves none of those problems, none of them. Mr. Kippett is on the county vision committee. That's what he said before. I cut that off. But he was trying to demonstrate that this, and this is, and what's important about that is when I called Dennis about doing this show, he said, well, don't you want us to talk about what's happening in the legislature, where the legislature is limiting the power of the cities? I said, yes, I do. Absolutely. But not on this show. Let's do it on the next show, because Dennis is right. But Mark is presenting a case that is completely empty, because everything the state is doing is statutory. It prohibits and it prevents a city from taking action that Mr. Kippett seems to believe that can happen. The other thing that was not discussed at this meeting that they had before they voted to do the charter was to ask some simple questions. So here's some simple things that I think people should know, right? So when we look at a charter, here are some of the home rule cities. Okay, Houston, Dallas, Austin, Waco, Frisco. Then we go to Forney. Then these are all the Rockwall counties. We are McLendon-Chisholm is the only city in Rockwall County that is not home rule. But again, I ask the same question. So why do we need to be home rule? What advantage is there? Because all the platitudes that I highlighted at the beginning were really great, I guess. I mean, it sure makes you feel good, doesn't it, to know that all of these things are true. But the problem is they're all false. They're not true, in my opinion. All right. That's fine. I'm giving Dennis his due, because he's worked hard on the Charter Commission. So the next question I would ask is why now? That's ultimately the question. Why now? And so, Dennis, why now? Can we start there? Are you okay with answering that question? All right.
Yeah. So the reason that I say, at least for me, why now, excuse me, is because we're growing. We all know it, right? And there is a lot of growth. And I'll point back to, some of the video that, Austin is pushing things faster than we can keep up with.
I agree with that.
Right. And so, I mean, we've got developers who are just using every loophole or anything they can find in any of the legislation that's been passed.
I agree.
And they're going to continue to do so unless we have any guardrails or anything that we can do to help prevent, stop, or slow that.
All right, give me one example of.
I knew you were going to ask.
Yes, of a home rule city and what they can what they can do.
All right. So what I'm giving Bob here, nobody there can read it right now. Home rule versus general law cities in Texas. What are the ETJ powers? Because a lot of people don't think that home rule has any power whatsoever within the ETJs. But we actually can. We can create development agreements within the ETJs where we authorize under Texas local government codes, and it's on there, subsection 212-172, to enter into binding development agreements in an ETJ.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you why that is a completely useless point. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
Because Trilogy. Trilogy was in our ETJ. We signed a development agreement with them, and the whole point was for them to get out of the ETJ into the city because they needed fire protection. This is because the city of Heath had no power, it couldn't do anything. So yeah, the city of McLendon-Chisholm has done this,
right, as a general law.
As a general law.
But
so why didn't it be home rule?
That couldn't be enforced through those ETJ powers. As a home rule, this gets enforced.
There's okay, but you see that's the key. Development agreement is key. You're in an agreement. You have no control. You have no power. You have to have an agreement, and that's what the city has already done. It's done it. Sonoma Verde, another good example. Sonoma Verde was ETJ.
But when they changed the
general law type A city did it.
When they changed the rules on you, what do you have?
What do you mean?
So when, let's say River Rock, for example, right? River Rock's getting ready, or they want to put that in out behind McLendon-Chisholm, ETJ, also county.
Okay.
6,000 plus homes.
Why would River Rock sign a development agreement with the city of McLendon-Chisholm that's going to limit their ability to do whatever the hell they want?
Right. Well, they probably wouldn't. Yeah.
Exactly.
But if they want, if they want any services provided by the city, because
they're going to have to come into the city.
If they want the services.
Exactly.
So we have to have leverage. But right now, here's the thing.
But that is the leverage, Dennis.
Currently, because that's the leverage we have currently. And I'm not going to disagree with that.
Right. Okay. So there's no
all it takes
difference.
is one bill going through the House or the Senate that makes it all the way through. The governor swipes his pen. We no longer have that power. And now everything is completely out of our hands.
You know, and if a meteor hits the earth tomorrow, we're all dead. So let's plan for the... No, we're not going to do that. Come on, give me another one. You got a list here. So this is
yeah. So these are just all right. I'll give you that.
Subdivision regulation doesn't work. That's a ridiculous one. Keep going. Let's go to utility service leverage. Now this one I might be interested in. Okay, go for it.
So the platting standards and the subdivision regulation.
Oh my gosh, are you really going to talk Are you kidding me?
Well, okay.
Seriously, you think there's any power in that? Oh my. Yeah, look. What's funny about that? I mean, let's talk. I mean, when I was the stupid mayor who gave away 4,000 acres to Rockwall, and I was vilified and demonized for that. The Rockwall had subdivision powers. Mm-hmm. Not only that, more importantly, back then when I was mayor. A home rule city actually did have power. They had the power to involuntarily annex. That's why we gave them that 4,000 acres. Once they had that 4,000 acres, they were like, oh, this is a bad deal. They actually just gave it back into the county. They didn't want it either. That's how bad it was. So subdivision powers is no power at all, but let's keep going. Let's go to your utility.
Right,
I'm actually interested in this one.
You're interested in that one, right?
Yeah, this one might.
So home rule cities can condition service extensions and negotiate terms for infrastructure with developers. Now, right now, as a what? All
right. So here's the key.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, can negotiate terms for Okay. Let's make sure that we're on the same page. There is a governmental. If you are a government, what power do you have? Negotiation. The power of negotiation is no power at all. Okay, unless you're Donald Trump, obviously, and you're a great negotiator.
Yeah, the art of the deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. But that's not what we're talking. A general law city can negotiate. They can negotiate.
Sure.
So anything that has negotiate in it is no power at all.
Based on the laws that the state has granted to us, right? And we live under those laws.
So does every home rule. Did you know that every home rule city has to abide by the statutes of the state of Texas?
You can't do anything outside of what is allowable by law.
Right.
But you're allowed to put up your own guardrails and your own guidelines around how you want your city to grow, how you want it to perform, how you want the utilities and the services and the community. Because, I mean, government, best serves the people that it's closest to, right? You and I both agree on
I would agree with that. The problem is as government expands, liberty contracts. What this does is it essentially grants our local government more power over us.
It doesn't see it the other way.
I know you do. And I don't understand why. I don't understand how you can see it that way. Well, we'll go through the charter and I'll show you how it does. But I say it grows and expands the power, the size and scope of government. It will increase the tax burden on taxpayers. We will have worse service, and it will cost us more money. That is my thesis for a
I'd like
home
to
rule.
go through each one of those individually when we get to them.
We are.
Okay.
All right. So utility service, you can negotiate. All right.
Right. Well, and obviously we know we're growing, right? And there was an attempt to take over the city water, right? Or to the water for the city, right? We all know that fiasco,
Yes,
and that's fine,
yes.
right? We don't need to get into that.
All right.
But eventually we will get to a point where the city will have its own utilities. We know that.
No, we don't.
Sure we do.
No.
With the growth that's coming and everything else, if we don't put up any sort of borders or boundaries, we're going to be forced into it. Because if River Rock does go through, and we're sitting here looking at that, yeah, we may still be with RCH, but what happens when all of a sudden they start intruding into our area and the state says, you can't stop them?
Okay.
What do we do?
Again, you are.
I know I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're envisioning things that I think this is the boogeyman, and this is what as a conservative I hate. I don't like. I like limited government. That's why I like general law, because the city can only do what the state allows. It can't encroach any more on my liberties. This allows them to encroach on my liberties.
I see it also as you having more liberty and function over them. Because
if you call a committee of 15 people more, I would disagree.
Well, I'm not calling them that, but I'm saying what you have, all right, within a home rule city.
Yeah.
Okay. You have more power over your council and your government than you do in the general.
No, what's even funnier about that, why that is so wrong, is not only do the people have less control over their council, but the council has almost no control over their government now. Now the council is a governing board that the city manager runs the city. That's the person who you have a paid appointed you have a bureaucrat running the city. So no, I don't buy that for a second.
Okay, so what are the role in there? What is the role of the manager of the city?
The city manager runs the city.
Okay, at the request of?
At the request of the city council.
And under the authority of the city council?
Yes.
Okay.
They're a governing board.
And the city
This is what I do for a living. You realize that I do board training and things like that with non-for-profit organizations.
That's why I'm asking.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
So I'm a policy governance guy, a Carver guy, if those of you who know that, any of that stuff. So yes.
And the city council can remove said manager if manager is screwing up? Right?
So two members of city council can get rid of them. No, you got to have a.
Well, you think you have to have a majority.
Oh, really? Okay. All right. Yeah. You have to have a majority. What if, so I'm just saying, again, you have less control. The citizens have even less control, but this is arguable. And that's what I love about this. I mean, we can disagree.
Sure.
We have different points of view. I just happen to be right. That's all. It's okay. It's okay. So let's keep going. Keep going.
I mean, I brought these out only because I knew that ETJ, or at least I had an idea that ETJ would come up. That's why I brought these out in here.
Well, yeah. So
we don't have to go through.
Here's the bigger question, Dennis. What is it necessary?
I feel that it's necessary just because, everything. I know you're going to point back to, I'm talking about the meteor hitting the Earth, right?
Yep.
But everything that I've been watching and seeing, because, I've been spending a lot of time down in Austin.
You have.
I've been following and tracking. Right now I'm tracking about 104 bills.
Wow.
There's 34 that from the county judge through the mayors and other councils and the commissioner's court that we're all tracking together. So we put together kind of a informal group that's looking at some of these things, and we're discussing. And
but isn't okay? See, and that's the point. You're coming back on the show. We're gonna be talking about this because that's important.
Yeah.
But the thing is, all of these statutes, all these statutory measures are going to be imposed on home rule cities, on general laws. It doesn't matter what kind of city you are. They're restricting everybody. So, being home rule, why is it necessary?
To bring that power back to the people.
What power?
So we just had a very contentious council. I'm going to be nice about it, and people were saying,
and that's a good thing.
Sure,
I think that is. Gosh, I hate consensus.
But when the contention is from the council to the people, and the majority of the people who are speaking up are saying we need to stop the insanity, but the council doesn't listen.
Okay. We're going to need to go around that one.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because the city council cannot meet behind closed doors.
Right. There has to be transparency.
I laugh at that. That's so funny because, obviously, we have the council's done that, and not this one. Okay, not this one. Brian, don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. Don't you dare email me with a text. I'm not talking about you, Brian.
He's on his way over right now.
I know he is. I know. I don't mess with I don't want to F with the wrong ring. But my point is, it's supposed to be transparent. The city council can't meet behind closed doors. Can't meet off site. They got to meet there. And when things come up and things get contentious, it astonishes me that I had more candidates on these candidate forums who came in, particularly with the city of Heath, who basically were talking about, there's so much, disharmony with the city council. I'm like, well, of course there should be. Why is that a bad thing? Why can't someone call someone an SOB? Frankly, I realize that people don't like Donald Trump. I happen to, but they don't like that kind of thing. I get it. I respect that. But my point is, look, council meetings should get contentious when you're passionate about something and something is, and you're going in two different directions. Gosh, I would hate for a council to be lackluster and
we don't want them all to be yes men.
We absolutely don't.
Right.
The worst thing you can have is a consensus council.
You have to have difference of opinions. You have to have people with different life skills and different abilities and everything that come into play.
Exactly.
Which is why, and I'm going to jump off topic on this one,
all right.
But when you look at a school board, you don't want a school board comprised of all teachers.
I agree. Good point.
Right? You want them to have different life skills, different experiences and everything. You want them from different walks of life. You want people that are lawyers. You want people that are accountants. You want people that are manufacturing even, or entrepreneurs. You want them from all walks of life in that aspect.
You're right.
Because that brings different sets of intelligence in, instead of everybody just, for here in Texas, going on and going, oh, TASB says, or TIA says, or and it's like, no, we don't care about that. We want to know what's happening with our kids, right?
So tell me why. So tell me why you still haven't told me why it's necessary.
So and again, I'm going to tell you why I feel it's necessary, and it was some of what came from the commission, as well as some of the people that showed. We didn't have many people show up. Your point is correct,
and hardly anybody watched the videos.
And we had a few.
That's why I'm saying most people have no idea.
But I'll tell you,
no idea what they're about to vote on. They have no idea.
When I would talk to people out at, if I was having lunch at Chisholm Country Store, which I would do not very frequently, which I actually need to do more. They got really good food. This is a plug for you. All right, so we'll give them a plug.
Yeah, right. I better get paid. I'm kidding. I don't get any monetization. Don't worry. Yeah.
But so I would go and I would sit there, and either the ladies that work there, or occasionally there'd be somebody else in there, and if I was reviewing, because I had my binders with me, and I would sit there and I would review these, and people would ask me, they said, what's that? Oh, it's the city charter. And they go, oh, okay. So tell me about this. Well, I really hope that we have this capability in there. And
Give me an example.
you're going to know the main one, right?
Term limits. Gosh.
No, recall.
Oh, same thing.
Recall was the main one, and I said, "Well,
we're going to talk about recall."
I was like, "Well, so first off, term limits. You already have term limits at the ballot box, right? But okay, you want to put term limits? What would you say?" And I ask people, "What would you say for term limits? What would you like to see?" And some people, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, And I actually heard
from a few people.
I actually heard a few people that said, hey, after, because when they do a term of 2 years, all right, the first 6 months of it, 4 to 6 months, depending on, they're still getting their feet wet. They're trying to figure out where they're going, and they're immediately thrown into a budget cycle. You know this, you've done it. And so you're sitting there in a budget cycle now going, which end is up? Okay, that's $1, not a comma. That's a this, right? So you go through the process. And as you're doing this, you're still supposed to be able to be running, or not running the city, but, helping to run the city. You're helping to do this.
Right.
And you're supposed to be doing this at that point.
Right.
And if you're still wet behind ears trying to get everything done, and here's the sad part that I see with some of this. You're going to have, and whether it's former councilmen, former mayors, you're going to have former people in other places trying to, do that little thing in your ear and whisper a little something behind you. And good advice or not, sometimes they take it. And if it's good advice and they take it, great. If it's bad advice and they take it, now we're just continuing the same thing. It's a new person, new face, same motive and everything else.
All right, we're going to talk about all those.
So,
but why is it necessary? Still haven't answered that question.
Well, we're growing to that point. We crossed the threshold.
Okay.
And I know the size.
Then let me ask the next question. So
Sure.
how big is too big to be a general law?
How big is too big to be a general law?
How big is too big?
I don't know I don't know about too big on a size.
Well, you're saying that we're growing, so obviously there's got to be a cap at some point, right?
So for me, when people ask me why home rule, my answer was, we're growing and I want to put up some boundaries. I want to put guardrails. And I believe we
you got some boundaries, but not the kind that you're saying.
Well, okay. Well, we'll talk.
I'm going to argue. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, okay. So let's go to the next point. So these are things that were never part of that informational meeting. How many cities in Texas are general law? I bet you don't know this. I didn't know this. General law cities make up about 75% or 926 of all incorporated cities in the state. As of 2021, 606 of those are general law type A cities. Okay. So and then I asked the question, how big is too big for a general law type A city? Well, I decided to do a little research, and we have 606 of them, right? So these are the largest of them. There's McLendon-Chisholm at 494, and let's just move down the list and see what kind of cities are there. You got Houston area, you got the Amarillo area. These have the San Jacinto or the South Houston one is 17,000 people in it. So the question that I have, I keep asking is it really necessary? And I would argue, no, it's not necessary. It is, and I hope that, again, I don't think people know what's happening. I think most people are going to stay home. They have no idea that this is even on the ballot, and it's going to be an incredibly low voter turnout. And so it's going to pass, in my opinion, sadly. But I wish people would say no. What would be the worst thing that could happen if we didn't pass it? And I'm going to say we'd save a heck of a lot of money. We would actually have more freedom, and government would be limited. See, what's interesting is I can't tell you how many of the candidates that I had in this studio for the candidate forums who said, I asked the same question of everybody except our ISD. I asked them a different question. I asked them, why are you a Republican? Because everybody claimed to be a Republican. Why are you a Republican? And every one of them said, because I believe in limited government. Okay, well, this is not limited government. This home rule does not limit government. It actually expands it. Right now, the city of McLendon-Chisholm's government is limited. So it's limited by the state of Texas. But now what we're doing is we are opening that up and making it pretty much unlimited. Now, advocates of home rule say that it's all about local control where they have greater autonomy to govern themselves. But in reality, home rule cities have greater autonomy to restrain the people. That's the reality. And I go to Thomas Jefferson on this, who said that when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. We are literally giving government more power. And so I don't believe that that's a good thing. Now they also say that if we are home rule, that we can enact ordinances and regulate land use and address local issues without needing state approval, as long as they don't conflict with the state or federal laws. And I ask a simple question: how is that different than what we are now? It's not. The only thing in this entire thing, the only thing is the issue of involuntarily annexation, which is no longer a power that home rule cities have. There's virtually nothing on that list. This does not meet any of those standards. And I'm going to say this: if let's say that I agreed with you on any of these, and I don't, but let's say I did. It's not a big enough issue to say, yeah, let's go home rule. I think that's a huge mistake. Flexibility. These cities can adopt their own charters and organizational structures tailored to their specific needs and priorities. This allows for more efficient and effective government.
So would you agree that we're already ruled in a top-down government from Austin down to us?
I would say that that our government is limited, and that's a good thing, because our
city government's limited.
Our city government is limited in what it can do, and that is a good thing because it limits them on what they can do against me.
The city can do against you.
What the city can do against me.
All right, but also
And
you're also limited in what you can do with regards with the city as well.
Meaning what?
So within the city, can you put forth an initiative under a general law type A city?
I don't care. That's irrelevant. Who cares?
Can you put forth a referendum to change something?
We'll talk about Okay, we are going to deal with that.
Okay.
It's such a bad argument. We're going to talk about it. All right. I challenge anyone to find just one here. Challenge anyone to find just one specific need that is being met with this charter. And when you say referendum, give me a break, because when we look at what the Charter Commission did to create for referendum, it's an act of foolishness, in my opinion. It does
to give the citizens the power to be able to put something forward and to change something that they don't agree with.
Okay. All right, I was going to say this, but okay. So one of the things that Mr. Brewer says is that the city, I was going to play it, but what he says is that the citizens can determine governance and what they want from the city, that they can through this referendum, they can reverse a decision of the city council. True or false? They can reverse a development agreement that the city has made with a developer. No.
I don't know about it.
No, it's false.
Okay.
Do you know why I know that? Because the city of Rockwall has just signed a monumental deal with IKEA that allows apartments and all of these things. And the people are furious about it. They don't want it. And can they sign a referendum to say, no, let's get rid of that? No, they cannot. There is very few things. And this goes back to the whole let's get rid of a city council person. If you're at a point where you want to get rid of a city council member, they've already done the damage. The damage is done. There's nothing you can do. And that's why every decision that we make as a city has got to be carefully made and has got to be thought out. There were some things that you said in the charter that group that I really liked. I mean, you had some very good things to say about how we move forward. You know, the cautious nature of how and I agree with. I was like, yes, Dennis, go. The problem is when you sign a development agreement, it's done. It's done. There's nothing you can do about it. So no, referendum does nothing substantive for people. And here's the thing: I go back to this point about specific needs, and I keep asking you, Dennis, does the city need it? And I go back to what has been on the dais. When I was mayor, I put it on the dais. When I was mayor, every meeting, it was on the dais, and it's on my desk now. It's William Pitt's. Necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. Those who say it's necessary, we need this, are simply arguing either as a tyrant in government or are arguing as a slave to government. And here's the thing. I said this at the beginning. I don't believe, I don't believe that Councilmember Brewer is lying to anyone. Right. I really don't. I think he believes everything he says. The reason I believe he believes that is because he's only held government jobs. So his worldview is government. So
he also lived through going from a general law to a home rule.
I know, but his whole mindset is government. Government is good, and I'm one of those crazy people who doesn't see government as necessarily a good. It can be an evil, if you will. But I think Milton Friedman also, it should be, and this is the point. And I want to go into this chart. I want to take a look at this charter and have you talk about it. But Milton Friedman said, whenever government bureaucracy takes over, costs go up and quality goes down. The thesis of how I began was to say that this is going to expand the size and scope of government. It will make it less efficient. It will make it more expensive, which is exactly what Milton Friedman is saying here. Whenever government takes over, costs go up and quality goes down. I'm going to tell you that the cost of this home rule is going to be so massive that our city government, if you don't think that your tax rate is going to go up, and Dennis, this is one you can argue with me. Do you think our tax rate is going to go up if home rules pass? Do you think taxes are going to stay flat or going to go up?
Taxes, unfortunately, always seem to go up.
No, they've gone down the last. They've gone down the last, and we had a tax rollback. And by the way, that was a referendum, a tax rollback referendum. The citizens signed a petition, put a tax rollback on the ballot, and we got it rolled back. So the idea, hey, that was a referendum. That's actually one that works and that the people can use. You guys, the charter has made that. The charter has made that a little more.
You going to give me a little bit of a check mark on that one, because a referendum can be pushed forward and we can change things like that.
No, you made it harder.
To what? To be able to reverse something like that?
Yeah. You see, 10% of the vote is all that was necessary as a general law city to put a tax rollback on the ballot. You guys made it 30% or 300 signatures, which makes it much more difficult to do a tax rollback.
Well, it's 30% of the voting population,
right? Or 300, whichever is less. Right. So in a general law, it's only 10% of the voters who came out to vote.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, you made it harder. I'm not giving you a check.
Okay, all right. Hey, you know what?
Nothing but love here. Nothing but love. All right. So here we go. This is one of the big mistakes I see in this.
Where do we get?
I'm going to at large. So, what do we gain? The mayor and city council will be elected at large. Now, here's the key here is we're not going to have 5 members of city council. We're going to have 7. So somehow that's better, and they're all going to be elected at large. So Sonoma Verde is the largest voting block in the city of McLendon-Chisholm. They're going to be that way until Trilogy. And by the way, here is just one of the things I learned in talking with the mayoral candidates and city council candidates of fate is the MUDs are their biggest problem, because MUDs contribute nothing. They're nothing but problems for cities. And here's the biggest problem. When the city needs to raise the tax rate, if they need to do something, it's almost impossible, because those who live in the MUD are so overtaxed because of their MUD tax.
Oh, yeah.
They won't let them do it. So when we get Trilogy, all these trilogy people, and they're going to run for city council because they're at large. They're going to fill the city council. And if you think government's going to get better, government's going to get more efficient, no, that's not going to happen. But the council shall be elected office at large. This is why I'm like, why do we need this? Why do we need home rule? If all you're going to do is add 2 members of city council, and they get 3-year terms now. What I found interesting was that Mr. Brewer, in one of his in his presentation, he said, so the referendum thing, you can recall someone that you don't like. So instead of waiting 2 years, you can recall them now. Not really. It takes months and months and months to get that process going. But the fact is now it's 3 years. Everybody gets 3 years on city council. So somehow that's better.
Well, the 3-year.
Why? All right. Why 7? Why 3 years? And why at large?
Okay.
You have the floor.
All right. So first off, the mayor gets voted to be a voice of the people, right? Not just to.
He's also a vote on the council now in this charter.
Yes.
Whereas currently, general law, he can't vote except in a case of a tie. Right. Yeah.
And all they're supposed to really do is just be like the chairman and, just run the committee, run the meetings.
Be the face of the city.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's it. It's more of a.
Well, the mayor is actually, okay, that's not true. So the mayor of a general law type A city is the CEO.
Right.
The city manager with the charter, with the home rule, city manager runs the school, so runs the city. So now we're trading an elected mayor running the city to a bureaucrat running the city. But go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So this gives the people's choice for the mayor, right? That mayor actually does have their capabilities, does have the voice, and can be a voting member, a participating member, not just someone sitting there, I don't want to say pickling their thumb, but only waiting for a tie in order to do something. Now, a mayor still would run the meeting, and you're not recognized, you're recognized, we can move on. Can I do we have a motion? Right? They can still do everything. Can
I ask a question that I don't know? Could you guys have chosen to have 4 council members and a mayor?
Sure, we probably could have dropped it. Yes, actually, we can. Not probably. We could have dropped it down.
Okay.
Yeah. So it could go.
Just curious.
And charters can be rewritten.
Are you really going to go there? Because 2 years from now,
well, it's a 3-year review with the potential for, or it's a 3-year review.
Dennis, gosh,
with another contingency.
Selling snake oil here, buddy. Come on.
No.
All right. So the mayor, why 3 years terms? Why?
So the 3-year term was, and there was a lot of discussion back and forth about this one.
Yes, there was.
Right?
I listened to it.
Right. And we had some people come up and be like, 3 years, not sure why, and 3 years sounds great, but we're not really running into the voter apathy. And I'm like, no, we have voter apathy. And the 3-year was to be able to give people just at least a break in all of the elections that are constantly coming, because we get people that are so burnt out on it right now. And you're right.
But you have an election every year. You still have an election every year.
Do we have to force people to have an election in here every year? Or
isn't there an election every year?
On the 3-year term, don't we give them a break? Oh no, that's right. We got rid of that one.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about that one.
I know. 3 years.
So
you have an election every year.
Yeah. This goes back to. Sorry, there were so many different.
I know. There's I get it. Believe me, I forgive you on that.
And there's a couple things that I had. I was like, no, I want to do this, and it was like almost the hill you want to die on, but not quite the hill you want to die on.
In fairness, Dennis, Mark Russo is supposed to be the chair. He's supposed to be no opinion. He drove the meeting, in my opinion. In my opinion, this is Mark Russo's. I thought where he wanted something, he made sure he got.
Well, he lost He lost a few things.
Really, like what?
He did. He lost. I don't know exactly which ones, but I know he lost a few things because he voted against some of the ones that everybody voted for.
Mm-hmm.
There was I'd say at least 2 or 3.
Okay. All right.
And I'll
give you that. I don't agree with you, but I'll give you that.
I'll have to go back through my notes and I'll take a look. But I know that he had voted against things and said, I don't like that, but hey, you know what? This is the way it is.
Okay.
So
all right.
So there was that.
All right.
Okay. When you start looking at large, The thing about at large is you can gerrymander any district you want. If you really wanted to get into drawing it out, because it has to be on a per. Because when you do your districts,
I get it.
It's just like a house
I
district.
get it. But
you know the numbers. On the districts.
True or not, you have to follow laws. And yes, political gerrymandering happens. It's a reality.
Sure.
Okay, but here's the deal. I don't live in Sonoma Verde. I don't live in Triple Creek or Trilogy.
Right.
I don't live in these in some of these developments. Their issues are different than mine. If you're just going to keep it at large, why have 7 members? Why? What good does that do?
Well, the way that we brought it up during the commission
Yeah.
was that it would give you a broader sense of people from without the community. That was because that way you can get more people involved.
I get it. Yeah. Okay. But and y'all have added members to PNC. Y'all want a part committee. Yeah. There's plenty of opportunities
some of those committees,
for people
I was
to
like,
get
okay.
involved.
Right.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately,
yes, you were.
Yeah. And
To your credit, you were.
And unfortunately,
all right, there we
okay,
get a noogie
hey,
for that.
look at that.
All right.
Whew, got one. All right.
See, all right,
but also, here's the thing, right? Unfortunately, what's one of the big problems that we run into is that we don't have a lot of people that want to step up and do anything.
That's why I don't understand why you guys said, let's do 7. So we have problem getting people to participate. So let's do 7 city council members. Let's have people have to spend money to campaign instead
You're
of
focused on just the council. I'm talking about all the other committees and everything else, because if you notice in there,
so why did you expand the council?
So we have it so that people can't be in all these multiple committees, because you have
me in 2.
They what?
They can be in 2.
They can be in 2.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not going to have them in 4, 5, 6, 7, or whatever.
Do you have anyone like that right now? No. Bev Stibbins served on BOA and the commission. That was 2.
Wasn't she on planning and zoning also?
No.
No.
Not if she's
Okay.
on BOA. I mean, BOA is statutory. You can't be on.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that. So Leslie Schwalge, PNZ.
Is that how you say her last name?
I don't know.
Oh.
And, God bless her. God bless her. So
I kept asking, and she would tell me, and I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I love you, Leslie.
Yeah, we do. But the point is, no. So you're saying, well, we have problem getting people going, on these committees, but so why expand them? So why expand the city council? That didn't make any sense. Why make them 3 years?
You're focused on, okay, so you're focusing on just the council, and that's fine.
Okay, we're going to get to the committees, I promise you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the council, because I asked why 3 years, why at large, and
3 years, and that goes back to when they first get on. You want them to be able to be doing things, but they're drinking from a fire plug, right? They're in the middle of the budget. They're in the middle of trying to get caught up with what was going on before. Now they're looking at everything that is going on now, plus the budget, and then they're starting to look forward. So now you have all of that going on. Excuse me. From that first time.
And just so you know, the reality is the budget season for a general law type A season city is entirely different than the budget season for a home rule. Why? Because the city manager is responsible for that budget. So that's why it's shrinking. I got to tell you, it was a lot of work. We had to spend time with our accountant, understanding everything. And there are city councilmen, to their credit, on many of these. I mean, Rockwall and Heath has some great council members who love the budget and get very involved in it. But it's not the same. It is not even close to being the same. I mean, they get a nice looking budget. So no, look, I'm not gonna fall on sword over 3 years. I don't care. I just don't understand why you added 2 more members of city council when you could have just, if you really wanted to limit government, because now what you're doing is you're effectively creating more cost for the city, more burden for the city.
Where's the cost coming from?
Because you have to supply those council members with their electronics, with their support staff, because support staff has to help every member of city council. So
but it's not a one-to-one support staff to council member.
I agree. But I'm going to say
why can't we if we add the one, right? So let's say
you're saying it. Okay, so it's going to be flat. Let's just I'll go with you on this.
No.
Let's say there's no increase in cost.
They will have to buy a new laptop. I get that.
All right.
Right? They'll I don't know.
You buy 2 more laptops. Okay. big deal. I'm not going to, look, I don't care. That fine. It just doesn't make any sense. What we are going to here. All right. So why, what was I saying? Why at large?
Why at large? The at large still gives everyone in the city equal say, if you will, instead of, well, I have just this one person to talk to. Now you can talk to everyone on the council. And I get it, right? You don't live in Chisholm Crossing,
get ready,
or
folks.
wherever. So
get ready.
Well, why can't we talk to every council member? Why should we be limited to the one?
We can, but isn't it nice to know who
voice?
your council member is? Isn't it nice to know who your state rep is, who your congressman is? I love it.
On that larger scale,
member
sure. But on this scale, closer
who
to
your commissioner is?
Yeah.
I love it.
I still like having that ability to be able to go in, and it doesn't matter which one I'm talking to.
Okay.
Right? I would. Well, then again, you could go and do that to county commissioners. You can do that with the others as well. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I talk to John Stacy all the time.
Yeah,
I love the guy. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, having fun yet? Okay, we got that. Okay, so let's go to this is my favorite. The Office of Tax Collector. Now, what was my thesis? My thesis was that Home Rule will expand the size and scope of government. And here is your evidence right there. We have an Office of Tax Collector. There will be established an Office of Taxation to collect. All right.
How's that done today?
At the county.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's so efficient. And
are we saying we're going to change that?
Let's see. There will be established an Office of Taxation to collect taxes, the head of which will be the city tax collector. The city council may contract for such service.
Can't we just have that be the same entity that's doing it now? We don't have to change.
That's not how it reads, Dennis. I think if you're telling me that that's the intent of this, the Charter Commission has lost their mind. I don't think that's not what that says. It's so funny how, I mean, let me guess. City attorney said, yeah, this is the way you write it.
No, we didn't.
Okay.
So Michael Holla had some input on different areas.
No, he had a lot of input. But anyway,
yeah.
My point is, okay, all right, we'll see. All right, so government's not
this lays it out for us for if we go into an area where we have to create something, we already have the framework for it.
Oh, why not? Well, wait a minute, Dennis. I thought we could just change this. Why couldn't we wait until we needed it and then put it in?
What if you need it now and then you can't wait?
Okay, give me a situation where you need a tax collector now.
Well, I don't know about that one, but I'm just saying.
You are doing that on purpose. All right. Planning and Zoning Commission. Okay. So the Planning and Zoning Commission has gone from an advisory board to an authoritarian. Thank you. I can finally say it. All right. They have authority that they've never had before. 2/3 vote of city council will be required to overrule any recommendation. It's not a recommendation if you can't overrule it without a supermajority. That's crazy.
Wouldn't you rather also have the people be able to have a decision on this? Put it up to the people for a vote?
What do you mean? What am I missing?
In a home rule, don't we give the people authority to be able to place votes? I thought we had this.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What am I missing? I'm missing. I'm slow. So what am I missing?
I thought we had voter approvals also within the. Because I know we have the city council can override if there's on there, and then there was where's the. Oh, that's just on the zoning commission. I got to look on mine. Because in a home rule, local citizens, you get the ability to be able to have voter approval requirements. So if we're gonna change things within our planning and zoning, we can put that out and say, all right, everybody, here's what's happening. We need you to vote on this.
I don't know a city that does that.
Well,
Rockwall doesn't do it. Heath doesn't do it. Fayette doesn't do it. Royce City doesn't do it. I don't know where you got that. I don't think that's right. Your comprehensive plan, that's the key, and it's supposed to be. I mean, heck, McLendon-Chisholm doesn't care about a comprehensive plan, thanks to, as we can already tell.
Look, I don't think I see that in our.
I'm not talking about you, Brian.
We can.
I'm not talking about you. Don't.
Careful, he's
don't
going to head to his truck.
I'm
He'll be over here
watching
in a
my
minute.
text. You better not be coming after me. All right. Let's keep going. You try to find that when you can. Next thing is the park board. The city council may appoint a park board. Now, this is the difference between may and will. Boy, that was a big discussion.
There was a big
will.
discussion on that one.
There was. That went forever. And what's funny about it is Mark said, okay, well, we'll vote on the may, and we'll come back and we'll vote on the will. Never did.
I think it was either a may or a shall. I think it
shall
was.
or may.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the argument's going to be made. Well, we're just saying that they may appoint a park board. Really? Okay. Well, if that's the case, then why put that in? Why put it in? Because you go right below it, and it says that the council
Other
has
boards and commissions.
they can create any board. But here's the problem that I'm having is the commission is basically directing the council and saying, hey, we want a park board. Good gracious. Trilogy is giving the city giving the city a park. Do you realize how much of a tax burden parks are?
Parks are expensive.
They are incredibly expensive. And who's going to use it? Nobody but those who live in Trilogy. Can anyone use it? Yeah. Who's going to? No one. You're not. I'm not. My kids wouldn't. Nobody.
Most
around
parks
here.
go unused.
They do. And so now we want a park board.
Well, that was like so. I further up 1139 over Klutz Farm, right? Oh, they're going to put a big park in. They're going to remember that.
Yeah. Oh,
no, the park's going to be there, and you're going to have this. You're going to have blah blah. And I'm like, how much is that going to cost?
It's a major part of that.
So everywhere that I hear a developer say we're going to add a park, and I'm like, who's going to pay for that?
Exactly. And don't give it to the city. If you're going to build a park, keep it in your development.
Right.
Don't give it to the city.
But then they're going to want to give it to the city.
Of course.
So
because they don't want to maintain it.
Right. Because they see that there's a cost associated. And They don't want to do it in the cities. And I'm just like, okay. So when this came up, they said, okay, well, these developments, they're proposing parks. Or if we have a development that comes in with this, they're not going to run it.
Right.
And
right.
It's going to become, and I guess this will be like from the movies, right? It's going to be all these, the drug dealers and the needles and the whatever, and the blah, 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 right?
Right.
Probably not here.
No.
Quinlan, different story.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Quinlan. I do like you got some good food out there, but that's all right. So, we have to be a little realistic in looking at it. And again, right, I'm looking towards the future. And I think that's where, at least from my perspective, all right, and I think there was more of a consensus amongst the commission. We were looking towards the future. We weren't looking at McLendon-Chisholm just now between 0 and 5 years. We were looking beyond that time frame. Because as we grow, which we're growing, these things are going to happen.
Okay, maybe, but why didn't you just wait until you needed it to put it in the charter? It's just
okay. So if we didn't put that in there, would you still be against the charter?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
Well, you don't like the charter anyway.
I don't like the charter anyway. Yeah. What are you kidding? So I'm about to lose my.
What's up?
About this. So.
Do you need to grab a charger? Station break. In
I've
the
got one.
white room
I've got
with
one.
black
It's supposed to
curtains. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
It's supposed to be.
Supposed to be plugged in and charging.
I know what's wrong. Yeah, let's. Hold on. There we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we are. All right. So.
All right. I heard the power time.
Yes, the power chime. Okay, so we're good. So this. So what I want to do, I want to go to. I want to go to something that Brewer said, and this is the referendum thing. I've already talked about it. I'm not gonna belabor that. Let's look at power of referendum. Okay, so you wanted to talk about it. Power of referendum. This is the problem I have with it. That you basically for us to do a tax rollback now, instead of 10% of the number of voters at the last regular city election, you got to have no less than 30% or 300 voters, whichever is greater. So yeah, it's going to be harder to do this. And the power of referendum, again, I don't think it's. I think it's a. I just think it's useless, frankly, especially since you've got 3-year terms now.
Well, let's say that. Let's suppose there's an ordinance that gets passed.
Okay.
All right. Look, I'm not going to say whatever ordinance or whatever. And the citizens look at it and go, Who in the hell thought of that? Why did that get passed, right?
Mhm.
City council was asleep at the wheel, and
Yep.
you had people
Were y'all given any example of something like that from a city of our size or a city of less than 10,000 people where something like that has happened where they've used referendum? No. The only examples were from big cities. It's like an Uber example that Mr. Brewer gave. Okay, great, but number one, it's not a problem for our city. But number two, the state took it away anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it's kind of, that's what I'm saying. I just don't see it, Dennis.
So sometimes you don't, even though you have the power, you don't have to use it.
Right.
So if let's say a city council is even thinking about doing something that they know the citizens are not going to like, the citizens can then at that point say no. Then they file a petition, they make a referendum, and they can reverse it.
Okay.
Or at that point, the council goes,
if it's a development agreement.
well, you know what? If we're going to do this, the citizens aren't going to like it. They're going to just file for a referendum, and they're going to reverse what we do. Let's not make ourselves look like fools and push forward anyway.
Great point.
So it's holding them in check.
Okay, great point.
So it's
you can make that argument, but if it's a development agreement, how long does it take to, from the first you have to have signatures. You have 30 days on that, right?
Right.
And then they have to establish the date of the election. When can you have the election?
Right.
I'm asking.
Oh,
it's like 6 months.
Could
it be 6 months? Could it be?
It could be 6 months.
It's at the next election, right? It's at the next uniform election.
I think you can do a special.
You can do a special. How long does it take to set up an election?
I don't know off the top of my head.
See, I believe it's at least 60 days. So that's 90 days right there. So you got a development agreement that's in the works. They got 90 days. The clock is ticking.
Can you put a stay on that? Can you pause it? If people are filing a petition, can someone put a stay on it and say, hey, there's would it be the judge? Would it be someone? I don't know. I'm asking. That's why.
No.
Okay.
That's my point. If a city council is bound and determined to do something, the only thing that I can think of that would have where a referendum would make sense is if we could undo the development agreement, a development agreement that the city council makes.
Well,
You look
to the Google.
Yeah, you look.
Referendum.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to. You're not gonna be able to.
Or stay. City council.
You could, people could, but again, the council has a right to govern, and I don't care if you're home rule or general law, you don't have the ability to stop them from governing, and that's why they can sign a development agreement and move forward. Nothing changes with this, with the power of referendum.
Let's go here.
So, all right, I'm ready to move. All right, here's why.
No referendum.
Here's why I think. If you find it and you're going to correct me, great.
So Texas Constitution, Article 11, Section 5, under the Self-Governance Authority, case law cited is City of Austin v. Thompson from 1949.
Okay.
Hopefully our legislature hasn't reversed that. And others establish home rule cities may provide for referendums except where state law makes action mandatory or non-reversible. Question becomes, is a developer agreement referendable? If the agreement is passed by ordinance, you can file a referendum petition to stay the ordinance. That's where I was getting the language, was on that one, stay.
Okay.
Who stays the ordinance? It doesn't say. If the agreement's executed immediately or by resolution, not ordinance, maybe not. Texas courts have ruled administrative or ministerial actions are not subject to referendum, even in home rules. And if the city required voter approval in the charter, which I don't know if we had in there, I don't think we did. Certain agreements or land use actions require a vote, then yes, a referendum or preemptive vote would be valid by a home rule charter. So let's see.
Referendum doesn't help.
Well, if we had it in our charter language, it would.
And you don't.
Well, we can make that.
2 years from now. Good luck. Good luck. All right. So let's go to here. All right. I want to tell you why. The argument that the people get to vote on this, the people get to make the decision. I'm going to say no. That's those who believe that are delusional. They're under a misimpression that they have a voice, that they get to decide, because they don't. Here is from the submission. This is from this document. says that it being impractical to submit this charter so that each subject may be voted on separately, it's thereby prescribed that the form of ballot to be used in such election shall be as follows: adoption or for or against. It is, you either take it all or you leave it. There's no nuance to it. There's no, hey, let's vote how many people we want on council. Do we want a city manager form of government? Which I still don't get why. 95, Mr. Brewer said 95% of all home rule cities are city manager forms of government. Right. And so that makes it right. I find that just as a limited government conservative, I just want to scream, because no, that doesn't make it right. Why would you do that? But okay. But no, the citizens don't have a voice in this. Most citizens have no idea that there's even an election. That this document that said that there's going to be one sentence in the middle of this little paragraph said there's going to be an election. People have no idea what that means. I'm going to argue that most people have been misled. Look, I don't think that the city council is necessarily trying to pull one over on the citizens. And I don't think that the Charter Commission did a bad job in doing what they thought was best. The problem is, and it comes down to the fact that this was pushed upon the citizens. It was enacted without thought, without consideration, without debate, without argument. And it was basically said, this is what we're going to do. And the only people who are going to be on this commission are going to be those who agree that that's the right thing to do. And so, again, it's a delusion. And that's why I want to talk about it. Now, I do want to highlight a couple of things. One thing is an opportunity that was missed in this, where we could have limited government. Actually have limited government. And it came, and it's this nice lady who's at the end of the table. What's her name?
She was from California. Her name is, I think it was Rosario.
I don't.
Well, she signed it, so.
Oh yeah. Let's figure out what her name is, because I want to give her credit because I like her. Roberta.
Yeah. Roberta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Roberta brought up an issue that I was like, okay, you want to limit government? Here's how you do it. And Roberta had the idea, and listen to how it gets. Okay. In fairness, by the way, Dennis is.
I think I was at that meeting.
No, you weren't. You were on vacation. You were where were you? North Dakota or something?
Oh, I was in North Dakota.
North Dakota. Yeah. So you were kind of texting in and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you had to get off at some point, and I think you were no longer part of the meeting at this point. But I want people to hear what Roberta had to say, and I want you to hear how the commission. I want you to hear how they responded to what I consider to be a really good idea.
Good. As a general law city, the max that can be charged on the tax is $1.50 per 100, which is 1.5%. So I just put in percent to make it easier. As a home rule, the limit, and this is set by the state of Texas, is $2.50 or 2.5% per $100 of value. However, the state of Texas says that a home rule city can limit themselves. We can keep we can go even all the way to zero, which the state of Texas wrote a whole few chapters on it saying they don't recommend you pick zero taxes, okay? And I'm not saying that. But I think you're gonna have a hard time, because I actually moved here because the real estate taxes were low. I did like 10 years of research before I picked this spot, okay? So I think you're going to have a hard time arguing, telling people to vote for home rule and leave open that you can increase the tax from 1.5% to 2.5%. Now we can limit ourselves, and that then supersedes Texas state law. So we need to pick a percentage and agree on it. And then that supersedes Texas state law. That's really all that is. And I just put numbers on it just to make it easier. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, and it's looking at the number, I want to be clear where we're at right now. You do understand that we are at 0.09.
Yes,
Okay.
that's why I picked this
But-
place.
89, sorry, yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
0.09.
No, because it just got adjusted, you're right. No, just adjust it down.
Okay, yeah.
So-
take it down.
Again, what the issue is, again, I understand your point. But we can't exceed that. I know what you're saying is you don't want it to exceed the 1.5 is what you were wanting originally, correct? But we're not near that. So I want to be respectful, but I also don't want to limit a council at this point with the growth and things that we need if we ever had that. I don't know. Okay.
It's my understanding that yes, Texas law says we can go as a general law city to 1.5. But legally, we can only raise the tax rate
Correct.
in one tax year a certain percent without
Out.
voter
Correct.
approval.
Correct.
So-
That is correct.
There is no way we can pass this charter and city council can take us from 0.089
Correct.
to
Correct.
50. Yeah.
So, and
Yes,
it would
they
be
can
by
if no one's
voter
paying
approval.
attention.
Voter approval.
So the point is, I think the issue is you're still going to have a vote, and that limits are still, I mean, we did have a recall election, or not, a rollback election, not recall, sorry. But we did have rollback, and we did do that. So I understand your concern. I do take it seriously, but I just don't know that that fits at this point. And but I want to give that time, and I just don't know that I want to necessarily. We're doing a good job as it is, but I understand the concern. I do understand.
Yeah, when Mark talks about how he's a conservative, he let the cat out of the bag. I mean, the fact of the matter is, if the Charter Commission wanted to limit the government of McLendon-Chisholm, they could have done it right there. And we're not, I mean, $1.50. We're at 9 cents right now, $1.50. She's just saying, let's cap it at that. And they're saying, oh, well, you don't want to limit future councils. Are you kidding? Yeah, you do. In fact, I'm like, why not cap it at 50 cents? And people, I'm sure, are going to say, oh my goodness, you can't limit a council to that. Yeah, you can. If you really cared, if you really wanted to limit government, you could do that, but they didn't want to do that. So good job, Roberta. And I'm glad you were on the commission. I wish they had listened to you. And really the final point that I have is how much will this cost to implement? No one, again, not one of these meetings, when they proposed this, when they presented this, no one talked about the cost of what this is going to do, because you're talking about in home rule, you expand your employees. You've got to now hire a city manager. Now the cost of a city manager is way different than a cost of a city administrator. And I believe the council is also going to hire and fire the city secretary, right? They got both of those. They're in charge of both of those. That's what I read. No?
I don't think we did that. No.
Look at city secretary real quick, just confirm. But I didn't understand why they would do that. But when I read that, I was like, it didn't make any sense. So, city manager and then city secretary, city council shall appoint the city secretary. Yeah. So the city council appoints the city secretary and the city manager. The cost of government is about to skyrocket. And here's what's interesting is there's another referendum on the ballot for changing where the bucket on where the tax dollars, the sales tax dollars goes. And they want to put it in public safety. And the reason I believe that they're doing this is so that they can create, they want a police department in McLendon-Chisholm. I think
Well, that was already approved in 23.
A police department.
Yep.
Yeah. And which is absolutely the acme of stupidity.
Yeah,
It
we
is
don't.
stupid. But this is going to enable them to do it. This is going to give them, because now they don't have to go to voters and ask for taxpayers and ask for the money, because they're going to get it through the city taxes, where our current it lowered our tax rate, and now they're going to have to come back to us and say, hey, we need more. We need to raise the tax rate since you're not getting a break on the on that sales tax. So, all right, we have really gone over time, but I want to give Dennis. I'm going to give you some time to whatever you want to say, however you want to close it out from your end, because I've done most of the talking. And I apologize.
No.
But you're always a good sport about this, and I love talking about things like that. So take it away.
You know what? So it's great that we come and we do this, because I mean you are a very knowledgeable person. You have a lot of wisdom that you've not just got through your education, but experience, because you've been on council, you've been mayor, you've been there, done that, right? You've lived in multiple cities throughout the state of Texas that have been general law and home rule. So
True.
So you've been there, done that.
Yep.
Okay. There are going to be people who are going to say, this doesn't make any sense, or, like what you're saying, and there are going to be people that say, oh my gosh, thank you for doing this for us. And you're scratching your head going, I don't know how.
Yeah.
Put down the wine glass and maybe you'll fit. But I don't know.
That is what I say. That's funny. Go ahead.
So, but I look at this as a home rule charter is where a city's going from. Let's use an analogy of a teenager living at home with their parents. Okay. So you can only do what mom and dad allow you to do while you're within the confines of their house. You can still have friends over to your room. You can still do the things you want in your room, that as long as they're not breaking house rules.
Okay.
All right. But then you turn 18, mom and dad say, hey, get a job, head on out. And you decide, I'm out of here. Right. So now you've turned 18. You slide out of the house, you go out, and you now have your own place, your own job. You're responsible. Now you have all your own responsibilities. There's probably going to be a little bit of an increase into your expenses because mom and dad aren't paying for things, right? Now you also have to understand your financial and fiscal accountability. You have to understand budgeting. You have to understand paying your bills on time. Otherwise, electricity gets turned off. Otherwise, water gets shut off. Oh, what third rail, water,
Yeah,
right?
but
Okay,
soon.
We'll leave that one.
Too soon.
Too soon. I'm sorry. So it's our city's growing up, and the conversations that I've had with people, and I've talked to a lot of people in the district and throughout Texas, and there comes that time where change either makes us move into a direction it wants us to, or we can set ourselves up for that change that's coming. And I believe what's happening now is that McLendon-Chisholm is at this point of change where, again, I'm going to, right, you say I'm playing on the fear. It's either going to be forced upon us through legislative actions or through development or through whatever, or we're going to be able to frame ourselves and put ourselves into a position that we can actually prepare for whatever changes are coming. Are we going to prepare for everything? No. There's going to be things that, in this charter, there's going to be things we got wrong. Okay? There's going to be things that need to be changed based off of what's coming down the road. So we have to be able to sit here and look at, and I don't want to say we're looking at a crystal ball or we're trying to shake the, what was that, tell me about it, what was that, magic 8 ball, right?
Yep.
So, am I right, am I wrong? Whatever points to whoever, right? So, we're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is somehow in a manageable structure, put ourselves into a position that as these things happen, we're going to be at least ready or hopefully ready. And if we're not, what do we need to change? What do we need to alter? And how can we make those adjustments? Does that make sense? Because that was the idea and impression, at least from me participating in the Charter Commission. I wanted to put us in a position that as we grow, because we're growing, there's really not much we can do about that, and we can have some sort of control and capability over that.
Ronald Reagan said that government is not the solution to our problems.
No.
Government is the problem. And the problem with your analogy is that you're making the city government the teenager and is growing up. And that's, to me,
the city is the teenager.
Right, you're making the city the teenager, growing up as though the city, when it matures, it becomes more responsible. And you won't find one. I don't believe that you can find any proof of that. I think that I think this charter is too soon. It is too much. And it goes to the core of what concerns me ultimately is, I'm always about fundamentals of everything in government. And I look to people like Thomas Paine who talk about who talk about moderation and temper is always a virtue, but moderation in principle is always a vice. When you moderate your principles stand on what government is, what it should be, and how it should work, I think that's the wrong move to make. And I say it respectfully. Yep. And I don't think that you're doing anything. I really don't think that you're doing it, that you're intentionally trying to make government big. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just simply saying that that I just think it is the natural result of what is going to happen. And I wish it weren't that way, but I think
when do you think the city would be either ready or needing a charter?
I don't know that the city ever really needs it. I really don't, especially the size of our city. But you know what? If there was a need, if there was something that came up and said, oh man, here's an advantage. Here's where our city actually gets an advantage rather than these platitudes that are no advantage. Then I would say, okay, I would consider it. But let's have a conversation about whether or not we need a charter first before saying we're having a charter. And that, I think, is the fundamental problem that I have with it. But I do thank you, and I thank the commission. And this is what conservatives do. They get together, they talk, they disagree, and they still love one another. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I agree, and I thank you for joining in today, and thank you for listening. If you have comments, anything, put them in the comment section. Email me, whatever you want to do. Dennis as well.
All questions are welcome.
All questions are welcome. All criticisms are welcome. I don't really care about your criticism, but bottom line is, I hope to see you next time, and I do hope that you'll come back. So blessings to you, to yours, and we'll see you next time.
God bless you, brother.